Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fearlessly Authentic. I'm your host, Jody Harrison Bauer, and welcome to Fearlessly Authentic, where we talk to people who have overcome obstacles like fear and are living their most fearlessly authentic life. And it's not always so easy. For me, it took a long time for me to start taking risks. And once I started doing it, I started building more confidence. And it's an everyday thing that I work on, because we're not just born into the world and start living a fearlessly authentic life. It starts with taking risks. It starts with believing in yourself and finding that power that you can stand in. And that's where you start talking about your truth. And it's very fulfilling and beautiful when you feel like you are really doing that. And our guest today is going to be fearlessly authentic. And I can't wait to introduce him because he has some exciting news to share with us. So if you are new to the show, welcome. And I'm excited to share this episode with you. You can check us out on YouTube and on all streaming podcast platforms if you missed the live show. All of my platforms are at Jody Harrison Bauer and YouTube. So you can check out my very handsome guest today and me. I'm always dressed in black. We matched today. And you can see us chatting. Just don't do it while you're driving the car. So also make sure to review, rate, and subscribe. We have a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We love that. Love to hear from you. My most favorite thing to talk about with my guests is relationships. I am obsessed with learning more and more about them, because I also believe that if you're not happy in your relationship, in your personal life, it does affect you in all other parts of your life. And that comes with starting. My background's fitness. It starts with fitness, health, wellness, and, standing in your truth, coming from all of that confidence. So thank you again for joining us. I'm going to get right into the show today because I'm super excited to introduce my guest, Romeo Alexander, from this last season of Bachelor in Paradise. Welcome, Romeo.
Hi, Jody. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for finding the time to be on the show. I'm sure you have been very, very busy.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. A bit busy with all the holiday parties right now.
Yeah. And for anybody who doesn't watch Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise, I'm obsessed with the shows. I know I'm probably not their demographic because I'm in my 60s, but even we women in our 60s, we like to look at good-looking guys like Romeo who actually speak well as well. So a little bit about Romeo. Romeo Alexander is a senior data scientist at Ramp, a financial technology startup in New York. He holds a PhD in applied math from NYU and a bachelor's degree from Harvard. Romeo was a contestant on season 18 of ABC's The Bachelorette in 2021 and season 8 of Bachelor in Paradise in 2022. Romeo lives in Brooklyn and likes EDM.
Electronic dance music, for those who don't know.
Right. So it did say electronic dance music, but I just was trying to be really cool with you. Like I knew what I was talking about and say EDM. I do know what EDM is. So you like to dance.
Yeah.
We didn't see any of your moves on either one of the shows.
Well, I actually did dance with Michelle on season 18, but that was cut. So that wasn't aired. Now there was a lot that wasn't shown.
Yeah. So given your background, okay. You wouldn't seem like a person who would want to be on TV looking for love. I would think that somebody that looks like you, who has your background, not to put you in a box, would say, hey, like this is a 6'3", good looking, well-educated, well-spoken man. Yeah. Why do you need to go on a reality show to find love? You live in New York. Like, why?
Yeah, I don't think anyone ever really needs to go on a TV show to find love. But the first question that the casting producers asked me when I interviewed was like, well, why do you want to do this? And I said, for fun, really. But I think really the bigger context is that I kind of delayed a lot growing up. I was very focused on school and my career. I was quite a workaholic. I always kind of had the mentality that I will date later. I will have fun later. And And eventually that kind of caught up to me. And the timing was just kind of coincidental, where I had just finished my PhD and started a new job, and I was starting to get out of my shell, and I had gotten out of a long 6-year relationship that I was in during the PhD, and I was starting to be more active on social media. I finally downloaded Instagram much later than all of my other friends, and like learned what a thirst trap was and all that, and like
I just learned what that was last year. I had no idea. And Grace, who we both know, said to me, I said to her, what's a thirst trap? She goes, it's like the stuff you always post, Jody. I'm like, oh, okay.
But it was like kind of strange for me. Like I didn't get into any of that stuff until I was 29. And I feel like a lot of my friends were probably doing that when they were like 20 or 21.
Right.
And and it was around that time that the Bachelor producers reached out to me. I actually had fallen into a new relationship, but it wasn't what I wanted long term. And then when the Bachelor
Wait, how did you know that? I'm going to stop you right there. How did you know?
I'm throwing a lot out.
Yeah. How did you know that that wasn't what you wanted long term?
Well, it was after the long 6-year relationship and finishing the PhD, I was kind of in this state where I wanted to explore the world. And literally a month after I finished my PhD, after I defended, COVID happened and everything shut down. So it was very strange, because even though I met someone that I really liked and we had a good time together, we both knew and I communicated very well. I was like, this is a strange situation. Like I know that what I need is to experience living in a non-pandemic world. So
right. And I think so many people felt that way too.
Yeah. So it was, we're still like very good friends, but when things finally started to open up, and then I got that I guess the first call from the producers, I saw that as an opportunity to really experience the world, to travel and to open up my social world, and that's what motivated me. And I had no I guess judgments about the show. I didn't really think it was trashy or not. I understand a lot of people think that, but I think a very important factor is that my father was in entertainment. He still is. He was a musician and a hip hop producer. And he was very enthusiastic and positive about doing something that would be a mix of being creative and being in the public light and having an audience. I definitely know a lot of people who look down or kind of like a little snobbish even about people who even seek any attention. They see it as narcissistic.
Exhibitionist.
Right. But my father always had a very supportive view of that, because he sees it as a great opportunity to connect with a lot of people, to get out of your shell. Like, he was an introvert as well as me, and he found that kind of being on a stage was very important for his own growth, and it was a way for him to make friends, right? Because like otherwise for introverts, it's could be really tough. I would just be at home all the time playing video games and chess and reading books. I really found that it useful, beneficial to have something to really force me to get out. So
I think that's really commendable and very courageous of you. And I'm sure it was courageous of your father. He probably didn't realize it at the time that he was putting himself out there until, it's always the dots behind us that connect us to what exactly is going on. You're like, oh yeah, it's because I did that and I did that and I did that. And you opened up yourself. It was after the pandemic. It was after relationships you've been in. Yeah. You knew that you're shy, you're a little bit introverted. Why not push yourself? And having a parent who was in an industry where it was putting yourself out there all the time. I did the same thing after my divorce. I started competing in fitness shows, and my friends were like, why at the age of 47 are you in stripper heels and a tiny little bikini on stage? Yeah. Like, what are you trying to prove? And I said, I know what my skill set is. I know how to present myself, probably something similar your dad said. I present myself well. I know how to walk in stripper heels, and got a fit body and it's going to get even fitter. And I went on to win, 2 world championships at 49. So you never know until you put yourself out there, and it's scary. It's really scary but you're being fearless and you're being authentic, but it's friggin' scary to do that. So I commend you.
Yeah, thank you. And that's amazing hearing your story. It's a lot that resonates with me as well. After one of my breakups, I went to the gym. I started taking better care of myself, taking more photos. I had realized that I had gone years without ever really looking at myself in the mirror.
That's
and
crazy.
I like looked at my phone. I had like no good pictures of me for like a good 6-7 year stretch. It's just like a dark age. I was thinking, oh, I don't want to be vain. I don't want to like have to photograph everything. But now looking back, I wish, I had more photos.
Right, because it's not really, I mean, a lot of people will call it vanity. A lot of people will say that people who want to be on reality shows, and I was almost on one, and there's a lot that goes into it. It's not about validation, and I want to talk about that because you did say it was some type of validation for you. It depends on what the show is about, but it's about, it's a lot more than just trying to hog the camera. And I'm sure I watched your season on The Bachelorette. So I saw all those guys who were just making shit up. And again, want to commend you on being such a man, such a stand-up man. You had manners, you spoke about how you felt, yet you weren't pulled into all the bullshit. Like some of these guys were ridiculous on The Bachelorette. We'll get into that more. But it's about, I think so much about what happens to us in life is about timing. And it's, you and I have talked about that late bloomer thing. I didn't start becoming myself until after I got divorced 20 years ago. So instead of being almost 62, I feel like I'm 42. And for you, you started realizing, oh, like, this is who I am. This is pretty cool. But when they reached out to you, the producers reached out to you for The Bachelorette, was it some type of validation? Is that the right word to use?
Yes, no, absolutely. It was, it was important. It was good. Like, just the fact that they reached out to me at all was enough validation. I didn't even need to go on the show after that point.
Right. You're like, good.
Yeah, I was flattered. It felt good to know that I was desirable, I guess. And I guess my confidence was low enough at that point where that mattered to me. But I don't think it was so much that my confidence was low. It's just that I feel like I really just was didn't have a clue, or I just was in such a small circle for a long time, and I didn't really get out much. So I just didn't really have. I was in a bubble. I didn't have a lot of perspective, and yeah. So I really appreciate that. But then after that, like then, the ball got rolling, and I really wanted to do it. I was curious. I wanted to meet these other people, and I was thinking that maybe I could find other people who were similar to me or had similar backgrounds. I know that there is the cliche that reality TV people are superficial. And a lot of people ask, like, really, are you really going to make friends with these people? Like fall in love? I'm glad I did it. And I definitely have made some good friends.
I think it's a great way. I wish they had something like that for older people,
Well, they're doing the senior bachelor.
Yeah, but they're calling senior bachelor like what, 45?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I think
I don't
they're
know.
trying to go older, but like that's something they've been working on for years, and
should be interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me about the process. So once you went through like a 3-month interviewing process and that whole thing that they take you through, did you know who the Bachelorette was going to be? And did that have any effect on your decision on, you're like, I'm not really attracted to her, or, oh, she seems like somebody who would be interesting for me and I could see a possible connection?
Yeah. So absolutely. Everybody knew who the Bachelorette was. Both Katie Thurston and Michelle Young were announced as dual bachelorettes, whose seasons would be aired in succession. They were announced at Matt James' finale. It was exactly a week after that a casting producer reached out to me and said, "Oh, we're casting for Michelle Young. Are you interested?" So yeah, the first time I saw her was at the finale episode because coincidentally, my dad really got into the Bachelorette, principally because it was the first time there was a Black lead, a Black Bachelor. So I saw Michelle Young on that episode and looked her up later. And I mean, I think everybody, myself included, definitely had a lot of doubts about the whole process. How are you supposed to, based on one photo or a series of photos on Instagram, think about the possibility of getting engaged in like 2 months? Right. I mean, it does happen to people. It happened to Nate, who made it all the way on that season. But at the time, I definitely had to be convinced a little bit by the producers. And I went in with an open mind and I was like, well, let's just see if we connect and go from there. And I can always bow out at any time.
Are they still together? Are they still together?
No, they broke up right before I started Paradise. So they broke up this past summer. Yeah.
Okay. Could I just say, like, I can't believe she picked Nate. Like, Nate, again, good looking guy. All the final guys were great looking. Yeah. But it's like, come on. Who's the guy who was on Paradise? Brendan?
Brandon, yeah. Who's now happily engaged.
Why didn't, and I'm glad he is. Yeah. I'm glad he is, because I was really mad at Michelle for not choosing him. Like, how could you not choose this guy who's like crazy in love with you? Like, you could tell he has integrity. And the other guy was like, yeah, I know she's going to pick me. I know it. Like, he was so cocky through the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how are your relationships with, so let's get into the whole thing. So you get picked, you're on there. Yeah. And so what is it really, really, really like to be there?
Well, I mean, it was overwhelming for me. There was a lot of personal stuff that I really had to get through that kind of prevented me from really connecting with Michelle. I was just, I definitely had I can't believe I'm on TV kind of feeling. And I was like, I was just obsessed with how I was coming across, how I looked, how I was speaking. I just wasn't very natural or relaxed. That all changed in Paradise. But like that first go around, everything was just so stilted. And with Michelle, just had,
you were like the second guy out of the limo, right?
I was the second guy out.
Because she was like, whoa. Like when you walked out, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, there was mutual attraction. I was definitely, when I got out and I saw her, I was
gorgeous.
I was actually very hopeful, because before looking on Instagram, I was like, is this really going to work? I don't know. Right. But yeah, I was attracted to her. She was attracted to me. It did become clear eventually that I don't know, we just like didn't connect in a lot of ways. The fact that she was attracted to Nate, and there were like a few other guys who went far, like Martin. I think there was a certain type of,
who was the villain? Who was that villain guy?
Martin was the villain. Jamie was another villain.
Jamie. He was awful.
Yeah. I'm trying to say this without offending people, but it's like,
I'm sorry, I can say whatever I want to say.
Yeah. Some of the guys have a little more of a bad boy persona. They don't smile a lot. They're like very cool, right? They have swag and all that. And that's very appealing. And a lot of women find that attractive. And I think that resonated with Michelle. She really liked that. But there were some other guys, myself included, who were like a little goofier, right? And like, I even just like looking at the pictures, a lot of the other guys like don't smile in pictures, and I'm there like, just like grinning. And it's like, I was just like very different. But there were a few other guys similar to me who are either like shy or reserved, or maybe a little goofy, a little quirky. It is what it is. And like that, you know, it's hard to explain why people are attracted to
Yeah, and
some traits.
I think you've really, and it's hard because you've got 30 guys there who are
Yeah,
vying for the same woman. And, are you aggressive? I don't know how
yeah,
well I would do in a situation like that because I'm one of those introverted extroverts, those people that, I'm actually kind
yeah,
of shy, but people think I'm super outgoing. So I don't know what that's called, but I don't like to be aggressive at all. So I think
yeah,
that, I'm not, I would, if I was on a show like that, I wouldn't be like, get out of my way.
yeah,
Hey, Romeo, can I talk to you out here?
yeah,
I wouldn't be that girl. And I think what I, what I saw about you as a human being on the show was that you were very respectful, could have been more assertive, could have been
yeah,
more aggressive, but with everything, the lights, camera, action, go. But I think
yeah,
towards the end, as you got used to it, before you were on there for
yeah,
4 episodes, I saw you coming out of your shell. You started expressing, when somebody was a jerk, you were
yeah,
like, dude, why do you have to talk like that? You didn't say dude, but that's me saying,
yeah,
pretending I'm you. But you
yeah,
started voicing your opinions, and I had wished for you that you had been like that at day one, because
yeah,
and I'm sure you did
yeah,
too, but like, again, this was, you were getting out of
yeah.
your comfort zone. This had to be so hard. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, definitely loosened up towards the end. I will say two things. Like one, I missed out on a lot of things that the other guys on the season had, such as growing up with siblings, being in a fraternity, just being in like large group. I think the closest thing I had to that was being on a football team in high school. And then that was very good and important, but I did go to a nerdy school, and like most of the other guys on the football team were similar to me. Um, so I was kind of like learning very quickly all sorts of social skills that the other guys already had, like from the beginning. So that
Okay.
was that challenge. But combined with that, there was like a little bit of, even though I'm mentioning like insecurities, I did also have some arrogance in certain cases where I was like, well, surely Michelle will like me. Surely once she gets to know me, she'll be impressed by this and that, and
By
she'll
your
be
math
impressed.
skills. You were
She'll,
certainly
yeah,
right. That scene where you were doing math, I'm like, well,
yeah,
wait a minute, this is right up Romeo's alley. Like, he's gonna
yeah,
shine. And like, she's a
yeah,
teacher, for God's sake. Isn't she
yeah,
gonna be impressed with his
yeah,
incredible intelligence? I mean, this guy went to Harvard. Like,
yeah,
what? And you choose Nate. Sorry, Nate. I don't mean to
yeah,
like, I'm sure he's a smart guy too, but like, come on,
right.
Michelle.
But
Like,
that also speaks to the fact that I like kind of I lost. I mean, I didn't really develop social skills to connect with peers, like just working so much and being in school. I was so used to getting the validation of adults, of teachers, of bosses. And I was like very much a teacher's pet. So I kind of went in thinking, oh, like she'll see how accomplished I am and how good I am, like on paper. I'm like dating with my resume. And I never really like, knew how to do all the other good, important things in life. How to sell
so
yourself, how to connect, how to be romantic and be
right.
fun and
So
date.
what did you learn along the way? Did you learn I need to do this or that? What did you learn from the guys that you respected and had some game? Let's put it that way, because you really had no game.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah,
love you,
yeah,
Romeo, but you
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
have
No,
much
no,
game.
no. I mean, it's true. It's true. I That's one reason why I wanted to go on the show, was to
Yeah, I think
learn
that's cool.
game. Uh, I I feel like I kind of picked it up by osmosis from everyone else. I think uh, I think a big part is just the confidence to go up to people, strangers, or I mean, it depends on the environment. Just go up to someone in a bar and like strike
Yeah.
a conversation. I wasn't really doing that before, uh, and uh, and yeah, letting loose and just not being pretentious. And I mean, it was a wonderful thing for me to be in a place where I think it was the moment that I no longer felt uh, like I was leading or winning. When I first got out the limo, I was like, oh, she's attracted to me. That's great. And I felt like I had an advantage. It
Yeah.
was when I realized that I was in the middle of the pack below that I actually had the most growth. And then I was like, all right, let me kind of watch Nate and Rodney. Oh yeah, there was a moment where
Oh, Rodney,
Rodney,
right. He was on that
when
season.
when Rodney got a one-on-one date,
Yeah.
the whole room actually like went quiet because Rodney was interesting where he wasn't like macho and a cool guy like Nate, but he was still so very attractive and Michelle loved him. And I think everybody learned a lesson there. And they're like,
Yeah.
wow, Rodney has this special something there. We can
He
all
did.
learn from him.
Right. Right. And we're
And
going to talk about Paradise and that whole
yeah,
thing and everything else. So when it was your final episode and you left after episode
yeah.
4, were you sad? You didn't seem particularly sad, but were you sad, or were you like, you know what, this was a great experience. I'm so glad I did
Yeah.
this. On to the next.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's weird because when you're in that environment for a long time, you become friends with producers and with the other castmates. So I was like definitely sad to be leaving the friends. I was also sad about kind of feeling like I never really had a real opportunity to talk to Michelle, to connect.
Right.
At least in the moment, I felt that way. Like now looking back, I'm like, all right, we had as much time as we really needed. But in that moment, yeah, I was kind of sad that I didn't get one more shot at her, especially since I finally felt like I was looser and more confident. I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
want to talk to Michelle now that I'm a lot more relaxed. But then yeah, after that I went back to the real life, and I saw what it was like to be in the real world with renewed confidence, and it felt good.
I love that, because nobody would ever think that somebody, and I don't mean to talk about your looks so much, but it's the whole package.
Mm.
So you guys listening, you need to see this on YouTube and
Oh,
check
thank
out Romeo also. But you have the whole package. So it's always like the really good looking ones who are like shy,
you.
lack the confidence a little bit. And then you get out
Mm.
there and you put, because you did put a lot of focus on your education,
Yeah,
and you're bilingual, but you
that's
grew up
right.
in a bilingual home, right?
Yes, I did. I spoke
Okay.
French with my mother. Uh,
And so you put a lot of pressure. I get that feeling from you that it was very important for you to be successful, whatever success was determined by you. And then, like you said at the beginning of the show, then put yourself out there, and then
yeah,
came along Bachelorette.
right. Well, so that was something I was struggling with during the show, and I was trying to deal with that cognitive dissonance that you're kind of mentioning. Like, I could a good looking guy and like have such low confidence about this and like
Yeah.
want to go on a TV show. And I think one thing that kind of helps me think about this is my parents. My mother is an attractive woman, always had a lot of attention, gorgeous blonde hair. My dad was a musician, had a lot of attention. They were a beautiful
Beautiful
couple.
couple.
But like my mother would talk about how she was picked on by a math teacher in school for her looks, for being blonde, I don't know, and just kind of like discouraged her from like being a student. And I just always kind of got a sense that the attention was a lot. I mean, she liked the attention, but it was also overwhelming, and it's something a lot of women deal with. Where she didn't want, she's also very intelligent, but she didn't want to to be seen as just a pretty woman. And then on my dad's, with my dad, it's almost kind of like a similar story where he felt like the opportunities for being a star, for being very big, were limited to being an athlete or a musician. And being a musician, he definitely like used his body and his sex appeal. There was a picture of him at the Museum of Sex in New York at one point, and like
Wow.
he was dressed in
Oh, I
tight
want to see what they
leather and
look
all
like.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to like see what they
And
look like.
I feel like there was almost like this insecure. Yeah, I mean, like education was important for him, and like my grandmother like demanded that he finish college,
Yes.
and now he's a professor in music, so he was able to combine like both this
Wow.
very creative side of him to this intellectual side of like teaching music. And my mother now is happily remarried to a novelist, and she reads a lot. But I guess the point I'm getting at is I feel like growing up, I was kind of dealing with this, like both my mother and father dealing with how do you balance, I guess,
Being
wanting to,
attractive.
being attractive and wanting to invest in that, but also not being judged for that. So that's the background. And I think like from a young age, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do school. And I was like, I wasn't trying to be cool. I didn't try to learn an instrument. And I just did a lot of math and I played a lot of chess.
You know, what's interesting about that story is my mom passed away a year ago. I had a very outgoing mother, and she was very attractive when she was in her prime. And because she was such an outgoing human being, and my dad was very quiet, that what I tried to do is blend into the wallpaper when my mom was around, because she was
Right.
so larger than life
Yeah.
that I couldn't ever compete with that. Not that I was competing with my mom. So I kind of understand that. So there's that push pull, like, where do I fall? Like, I knew, that I was an attractive woman. But I didn't want to I didn't want the doors opening for me just because I was attractive and sexy. I wanted them to be open to learn more about me. So there's that push pull, that constant push pull. Where do you go? So I kind of understand that a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's hard. So here you are, this beautiful man, you go on the show, you build more confidence. They ask you now to be on Bachelor in Paradise. How long after you left Bachelorette were you asked to come back? Do you ask for it to the producers? I know you said you had a great relationship with the producers. And by the way, the cuts of you, all the clips of you on the show were all very positive. They were, they were
Right.
very positive. Nothing was negative. So it was great.
Yeah. So we filmed end of July 2021, and then there was a reunion episode filmed right before Thanksgiving of 2021. And it was around that time at the reunion that there was talk about Paradise, and just like feeling like we should get ready for that. But casting didn't really happen until March 2022. So just like a couple months before we had to film. But I was eager. I wasn't necessarily eager to go in Paradise. I was just eager to meet the girls. I was like, I did the show. I met one woman on the show.
Right.
I want to meet the other women. So I didn't waste any time reaching out as soon as it was possible. The women who had been on recent seasons, who lived in New York or who were passing through. So I hung out with some of them. That's actually not something
like who?
Like some of the women who ended up on Paradise, like Jill and Kira,
right.
And Elizabeth, and then a few other names. But we actually shouldn't have / aren't really supposed to hang out too much.
But you all do. But you all do that.
Yeah. And I wanted to, at that point, Paradise, there was no guarantee. There was no, no one's going to go. I was like, well, I could just date other people who had this interesting experience. But in the end, me, Jill, and Kira were some of the first people on the beach in Paradise. And that was like the first storyline.
Yeah. Yes, you were. And you were, I think, again, the second person who walked into Paradise and said, "Hey, Jesse, how are you?" And he get on the beach, right?
Well, there was I forgot the exact order, but I came in after Jill and a bunch of other people, and once I got down there, I realized, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to navigate some pre-existing relationships.
I watched that whole thing go down. Okay.
Okay.
And so what was going through your mind? You see Jill, you get on the beach, you see Jill, you've hung out. I don't know to what extent you hung out, but you hung out, you knew each other. then like for those of you listening, I had never watched Bachelor in Paradise before. If I were your age and I had the opportunity to be on either The Bachelor or Bachelor in Paradise, I would be on Bachelor in Paradise, even though like where you're living is disgusting, like gross, like yucky. I hate camping and I hate dirt. It looked disgusting and sweaty, and you're there in like what, June and July filming, and it's just hotter than hell. So, but there's so many people coming in, like you have new people coming in all the time, and it's like you get to roam around and navigate and meet people. It seems like such an easier or more fun way to meet somebody and see who you connect with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the course of the season, there were like 21 men and 21 women, and they kind of trickle in at different times. That first day there were 20 people overall, and everyone was a lot more relaxed. Everybody was like a little more used to things, and I feel like the producers kind of allowed us to a little more free reign, and I would just like take people aside, and the cameras would follow us, and we would just talk organically. Whereas, on The Bachelorette, there was a lot more structure and formality where we kind of like line up to talk to the Bachelorette.
Yeah. And there's just one girl. Plus, you've got all your buddies who were on the season with you.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys, right?
Yeah. It was, Brandon was there. Rodney came in, I think, like the second day,
right?
A few days later. And then Casey was a good friend who was on Bachelorette. He's the one who broke his leg.
That's right. That was awful. Oh my goodness, that was awful.
It was tough conditions. People were dehydrated and
drinking a lot. And were you really drinking? Was everybody drinking as much as it seemed to be? I like tequila, so I'm not saying nothing.
I drank a lot. I think Brittany mentioned in the podcast recently that she didn't drink at all like the first couple of weeks. I drank. Maybe that made me too loose, because then I like later in an embarrassing moment, I'm talking to Brittany, and Brittany is stone cold sober, and I'm drunk, and I try to kiss her, and she swerves my kiss. But one of multiple embarrassing moments. I drank.
Let's start. So you get to the beach, and Jill's there. You've already connected in like a physical and mental way. I don't really know. You don't have to share it, but you know her.
Well, so we met. It's funny. I actually met Kira and Jill the same day.
Okay.
Many months before, around Halloween, actually, and then after that, like Jill and I, we like texted or messaged on Instagram. And I think we saw each other maybe 2 more times. We went to like a nightclub and we danced. And I was like flirting with her, but it never, like, we never kissed. But there was still a good amount of like emotional support going on. And that's where, it kind of goes into a gray area. It's like, are we just friends, good friends providing emotional support? Is this a situationship?
I think she wanted to like jump right on you. Like, I think she wanted to get into a relationship with you. And then Kara walks in, and there's no screwing around with Kara. Kara wants what Kara wants. And Jill's both women are very strong-minded. Yes. So you must be attracted to that type of woman.
Well, is it that I'm attracted to that?
Or they're attracted to you?
Or that I am passive and therefore allow myself to get drawn into the
I like that. I like the awareness, Romeo.
Magnetism of dominant women.
That's another show.
Well, that is a consistent theme. I think really what I wanted was kind of a reset, and to like be patient and to see what was going on, and to talk to all the women and make an informed decision. I saw that there was this triangle emerging, and I was just thinking, okay, like that's part of the show. the producers may have known that like this type of thing would happen. And I was like, all right, I'll just have to deal with it. And hopefully I can kind of level set. But, you know, ultimately I still ended up moving too quickly on something. I think both
Tell
Jill
us,
and
yeah, explain that in more.
both Jill and Kira were kind of assertive, but Kira more so than Jill, because Kira kept interrupting my conversations with Jill.
Yes.
I was just trying to have kind of like a normal, oh, like how's everything, how's paradise treating you? I don't know, like just starting from square one with Jill. And I all of a sudden I started feeling a rush. I felt this pressure, and in telling Kira to back off, I told her, let me pursue Jill in peace. I ended up overcommitting to something that I actually wasn't ready to commit to, like pursuing Jill. I really should have said, Kira, like back off, let me explore other connections, let me talk to people, you know, I'll get back to you later type of thing. But instead it was, I take Jill aside and Jill was asking me, I need more action from you.
Right.
Like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, okay, well, I'll kiss you. And then Kira comes, I tell Jill to go, and then I tell Kira, all right, let me pursue Jill in peace. And I mean, these are my actions. I chose to do this, but I feel like every time I did something, it really was a reaction to other people kind of giving me a prompt. Like Jill saying, Romeo, I need action from you. Or Kira finally forcing the issue by getting up in my face, and I have to tell her something. So I was kind of on the back foot from the beginning. And
that's interesting. That's interesting because, you know, I watched the whole thing, and they were very strong and they were kind of bossing you around. I didn't feel like you were being completely passive, to be honest with you. I think, you know, you weren't like just being pulled around, but you definitely were like, okay, well, listen, I'm kind of digging Jill right now. Kira, you're sort of annoying me. So let me pursue Jill. Jill says she needs action. Okay, cool. I'm attracted to you. Let me kiss you. Let's see where this goes. And then Kara stopping over to that day bed. I'm like, Kara, stay away. For girlfriend, leave them alone. Like, you know, and you were like, hey, you know, give me some space to. So I thought you were I appreciated how much you were trying to assert yourself, but they were both very, very strong women, and they weren't gonna, you know, back off.
No, but I mean, it's I think they're both wonderful. I mean, it's not a dig at them.
No, not at all. I'm all about empowering strong women. So there was, I forgot honestly about the moment you were with
Brittany.
Yeah. I forgot that. Sorry. Because I just remember her with Tyler most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, that was before Tyler had arrived. I mean, look, there were a lot of mistakes. I was afraid of Jill. I mean, I think I was afraid of, I probably would have been afraid of anybody, but I think particularly I knew that given that things have been very up and down, getting to the point of Jill feeling comfortable with me and we were kissing, you know, I pushed Kira aside and all that. I felt like any hesitation, any bit of me saying, well, actually, I need more time to explore and see what's on the beach, would lead to conflict. And I was also, I mean, I was drinking and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do anymore. But yeah, I made like a bad decision where I was like, well, because I had some great conversations with Brittany.
I like Brittany.
On day 2, after all my drama. And I was like, oh, wow, where have you been? I didn't realize you were here on the beach. You're like amazing. I want to get to know you more. So that night, that's when I made the bad decision where I was like, I want to talk to her more, see if she's interested, and then talk to Jill and go from there. And that would have been fine. But like when I was sitting with Brittany, I I did also kind of have this thought where I was like, well, I got to be aggressive and assertive. I don't want to be passive the way I was with Michelle.
Right.
I really like her, and I was seeing other people kissing pretty quickly in Paradise, so I
Yeah.
went for the kiss. Now, like, people looking back, they're like, oh, that was the worst mistake you could have made. She was obviously not into you. You couldn't read her face, and you should have realized that she was friends with Jill. I didn't know she was friends with Jill. There are a lot of mistakes, but I mean, I own it. Like, what
Are you
lesson learned.
talking to the other guys? Are the guys giving you
Yeah.
advice? Are you all talking to each other and
Oh yeah,
saying,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
hey, Johnny, who's just like, to me, like the most laid back, cool guy in the world.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I'm talking to the. Oh, I was talking to Casey especially, and Casey was saying,
I
Romeo,
really
that's
like
yeah.
Casey.
Casey was like, that's the most stupid thing you could do. You don't rock the boat. You gotta, stay the course with Jill. And I mean, they kind of show this moment in the show where I say, I'm not here to make friends or to find a surrogate sister. I I kind of looked at Casey and I was like, well, so what? I just gotta do something. And if things blow up in my face, then I'll deal with those consequences. But what I don't want is to fall into another relationship situation that I don't like. And I didn't want to fall into something passively and then 2, 3 weeks later, have a lot of regret. So I definitely was on the side of let me just do something.
No, I think what you did was great. I think what you did was great. So things didn't really end well with you and Jill.
No.
You're walking on the beach by
Yeah.
yourself. And it was like so confusing between Jill, you, Kira, like
Yeah.
you're walking on the beach and Kira comes running after you.
Yeah.
And like you guys had already decided that like maybe you weren't going to hang out together. And then she's like, so, hey, I like you.
Yeah.
And you're like,
It was,
and then you were
yeah.
like, I think I like you too. Like
Yeah.
that was to me, sorry, Romeo, a really
Yeah.
awkward situation. I was like, and then,
Yeah.
yeah, what was going through your head?
Well, first, when I saw her, I was very emotional because I felt
Right.
like I had put her through the ringer. I felt personally responsible for like my rejection leading to her being sad about her whole experience on Paradise. And I yeah, I just was talking to her and saying, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're doing okay. Like, how are you feeling? And we really both connected as friends.
Yeah.
Uh, who were going through one of the strangest things you could do.
Right.
And then that escalated into a kiss, and that felt good. And we had a nice, like, intimate moment there.
Yeah.
Then when she asked me to leave with her, that felt like it was more than just flirting and being kissed. Like, everything flashed through my head of like, okay, this is going to lead to an expectation of a relationship, like,
right, because that pause on the show was like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So am I ready for that? And yeah, I obviously had a lot of hesitation. And yeah, eventually I said, all right.
Yes.
But it was like the most reluctant, all right.
It's like, all right. And I remember watching you guys leave Paradise. So this was my
Yeah.
first season of ever watching Paradise. I'm like, they're just leaving? They could just
Yeah.
leave? I'm like, oh my God, he's leaving with her? And again,
Yeah.
I'm sure she's a wonderful person and so on. But I was just like, oh, Romeo, don't go yet.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what more you were going to do. And so I was bummed that you left because I liked your character on the show.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see
Nice.
more of you. And so what's the status of, so you leave the beach with Kira, that was when?
Oh, that was mid-June 2022. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're dating, and what's going on with the two of you?
Oh yeah, I'm single now. I'm very happy to say that.
Yay.
It's yeah, it was strange. It was weird. I mean, she just moved to LA. I was in New York, so already like, I mean, after Paradise, we did go on a date. So we tried, we gave it a go. And then we didn't really see each other for a few months. I went to France, but then as the show started picking up again, we started talking to each other, and then we reconnected when I went to LA, and we were hanging out a little more, and there was hope or possibility that like something could happen. But honestly, I wasn't comfortable with the pressure, with the expectation, this feeling of like, oh, we should try to make this work, because if it works, then we'll get more attention and we could say that Paradise was successful. And it's like, yeah, it was forced. So there were like some inauthentic moments that I'm not happy about, proud of. Like I was on a podcast where they said, are you with Kira? I was like, yeah, kind of. And they're like, but are you boyfriend, girlfriend? I was like, yes. And yeah, so now I want to apologize to that podcast host. But it's been a weird thing to navigate. And
yeah, I'm sure, because like you said, you could build upon that, right? You could write a book, you can go on shows as a couple and show that, yes, Paradise works. Paradise is great. Paradise is wonderful. But at some point you have to be really honest and be grateful for the moments that you shared and you learned.
Right. I thought I could be slick with it, where we were making jokes. Actually, I was the first person to do it. I like posted a TikTok where I like continued the bit of me being wide-eyed and biting my lip and like being like, I don't know if I'm really into this. And then like a lot of people found that funny. And then Kira and I were doing a lot of other TikToks that were similar, where she like was capturing me and like putting me in handcuffs and all that. And I was like, okay, good. We don't have to clarify things. We could be ironic. We can kind of get into this weird meta humor and kind of poke fun at the show. But then as it went on, people were like, oh, well, maybe they are together. Like maybe this is more than just a joke. And it started getting more and more difficult for me to feel like I was
like
really
living in your truth.
Authentic.
Yeah, I think so. I think we all get to that point where we're like, well, how long can this charade go on? Like it might be cool for social media. It might be. So you were single. So ladies, Romeo Alexander is a single man, and he is great looking. I mean, how many more times can I say that? Yeah. And so with all that being said, we've talked a lot about standing in your truth and being fearlessly authentic. So what does it mean to you to be a fearlessly authentic person? We have 2 minutes left.
I think it means to not care about, first off, to not care about social media and Instagram, and to not care about whether or not there are like short-term benefits or losses to things you do. Authenticity pays off in the long run. That's my answer. That's how I'm thinking about it right now, especially in light of this breakup with Kira. Like there was even, there was talk about how, oh no, the breakup should be extended and dramatic, theatrical. The breakup should mimic, previous successful breakups. And I'm like, no, it's like, well, we could break up in some way just to maximize some other thing that is ultimately not important.
This is who we are. I really appreciate everything. You've been so open. I really have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you for being so open and truthful and authentic and being fearless about this. You seem like you've grown so much just from in talking to you and explaining the journey. So for those women listening who want to check you out, what's your Instagram handle? What's your TikTok handle?
Oh, it's Dr. Romeo on Instagram. So DOCTOR _Romeo. And on TikTok, I'm just Romeo Alexander 89, because I was born in 89.
Oh, so was my daughter. Well, Romeo Alexander, thank you so much for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it. And for everybody listening today, thank you so much for joining us today for this great conversation. And until next week, go live your most fearlessly authentic life. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.